Have you ever played a game where the storyline is about rescuing your childhood friend? You know, a kidnapping. Sounds like a basic storyline, right? You'd be surprised how so many games can actually start with something so simplistic as a kidnapping of your friend or a princess or your lover. And then it grows to something more in the end. Something more destructive, something more of a chaotic storyline that is so intense and blows you out of the water you can't even comprehend what you just witnessed. Going, wait, no, this did not just happen. You ever played one of those games? Because I know I have. Subjectively, the greatest game ever created. Better than Final Fantasy VII. I know a lot of you don't like to hear that. But for me, The Legend of Dragoon is the greatest game ever created for me. Welcome back to another episode of a Wanderer's Way podcast. I'm your host, Dustin. Thank you for joining me on this episode. And just to let you know that this episode is all about spoilers of The Legend of Dragoon. So if you've never played it, stop right now. Stop right now and leave. Now, if you're like me, where spoilers actually encourage you to play, then definitely stay and listen because you will love this. For those of you who have played, I would love to hear your experiences with the game, what you loved, what you hated, everything in between. So that being said, let's get started. So The Legend of Dragoon. Man, so long ago since I played it. It was on a PlayStation 1. By Sony. Honestly, I'm just going to make this out there, and I know this is something that is very controversial, but Legend of Dragoon is way better of a game than Final Fantasy VII ever was. And I know it's subjective. It's subjective feeling, thoughts, opinions, da-da-da-da-da. But for me, there's so many reasons why Legend of Dragoon is so much better than Final Fantasy VII. Like, yeah, I liked Final Fantasy VII, so nothing here about me talking about Legend of Dragoon is better is even coming close to saying that Final Fantasy VII was bad. I just think Legend of Dragoon has an advantage, and there's many reasons, at least for me, subjectively for me. So let's just get right into things, okay? So we're gonna start with the protagonist of the game, which is Dart. That's your main character. Obviously the story starts out with him having to rescue his childhood friend Shauna from a kidnapping in Salise when he returns home, which Salise was burning and destroyed. And with that, he starts to talk about wanting his vengeance against the Black Monster. And he ends up getting the Red-Eyed Dragoon. So that's your basic character analysis, or introduction, I guess, in a way. Yeah, but Dart, he is your typical protagonist for a JRPG game, rescuing somebody that needs it, and he's very irrational, quick to anger kind of person. So that's your typical protagonist from Japan. Obviously in love, but not a girlfriend kind of deal with his childhood friend. But that's the kicker right in the pants right there. His childhood friend, Shauna. We will get to that in a little bit. Shauna was something that was a big surprise to me that I actually never expected. I knew there's a reason for the kidnapping, so on and so forth. But what the story foretold and brought about, I did not expect it at all. Now, the first character that you meet in the game, other than Dart, is Lavitz and Rose. Those two are the other two main ones on the disc 1. Now, there's a lot of talk about Rose, but we'll get to that in a minute. Lavitz, on the other hand, this is one that most fans tend to actually like the most. And what happens here when he dies? Dude, it was unexpected. I don't think any of us actually seen Lavitz dying. And then Albert taking his Dragoon spirit, which is the Jade Dragoon spirit. And, he's a knight of Basil. But he was actually killed by the antagonist of the game. It was really hard, actually. Me as a kid. And I was playing this game. And I actually liked Lavitz. And I loved his battling way more than anybody else, honestly. And then he just dies. And I'm just like, no! Oh, man. I know so many people hated it when Lavitz died. That was something that I was not expecting. I figured Lavitz would have been one of the last ones to the end of the game. Nope. They took Lavitz from us. But that's what made it so much better and more compelling for the storyline. It just helped you push further into the game, going, why did Lavitz die so early? No. But with that, so we're going to move on to Shauna. Now this one is, has a big spoiler for the game here. So if you're still with me and you don't want to hear about the main spoiler of the game, run away. Run away now. So Shauna is the twin sister of Luvia, I think, if I remember right. Man, it's been so long. And she's the 108th Moonchild and the last Moonchild. So the reason for her kidnapping was for Diaz wants her destiny fulfilled. Because she's the Moonchild. And so she is born with the soul of the god of destruction. She's literally destined to destroy all of life and bring the apocalypse. So yes, at first, before she even knew any of this and before, anything happens, she was the White Silver Dragoon, which passed to Miranda, which honestly, Miranda's better anyways, but that's just my opinion. But just put that in perspective. The reason for Dart, for this whole story to start, is to rescue Shauna, his childhood friend, that was kidnapped. And it turns out she is the destruction of the planet. She's supposed to be. Oh, man. Just put that in perspective, how that just flip-flops there. The one that you want to save is the one that's supposed to end the world. It's just crazy, Absolutely 100% crazy. Now, we have Rose, which is one of the ones you meet with Dart in the very beginning. And she has what you call the Darkness Dragoon Spirit, so she's all in purple. And I really liked her. I liked her battling. I loved her moves and everything. Now, this is another spoiler of the game. So, Dart's big thing was vengeance against the Black Monster. And this is the kicker in the pants. Rose, she is enchanted with a choker that allows her to stop aging. So it's been 11,000 years since the Dragon campaign. And Rose went through the Dragon campaign. And here's the thing. Rose is the black monster. Now, the whole point of the black monster, though, was to kill the Moonchild that brings the apocalypse. So, now you have this entire storyline of the main character, Dart, that hates the black monster because his home was destroyed by it, wants to save his childhood friend, which, you know, not his girlfriend, but he's actually in love with her, and they don't really specify that, but you get that, you gather that information. And come to find out, Shauna, his childhood friend that he's trying to rescue, is the Moonchild that brings the apocalypse to destroy the entire world. And the one that he wants to have vengeance against, the black monster, is actually Rose, who is another Dragoon spirit. And she is actually the black monster was actually created to destroy the Moonchild. Okay, there's a lot going on in this storyline, and it's more complex than I'm making it. I'm making it simplistic right now. There's a lot that happens before you even get to any of these sections in the game. But put that into perspective. Now, you also find out that the black monster is actually not evil. As I said, the whole point of the black monster was to kill the Moonchild, which brings the apocalypse. And here's another kicker too, is Rose, she has so much guilt because of mass murders that occurred that she had kind of no control over. And yes, Dart ends up forgiving her, and everyone else just kind of leaves it alone. And who else was it? I can't remember. It wasn't Herschel. Was it? No. Someone else had a kid that died, and he decided not to confront Rose about it, but he suspects that Rose, being the black monster, did all the killings, could have killed his child, but he left it alone and just let it go to move on forwards. So that's another character analysis, but I can't remember who it was. Who was it? Oh, how can I forget this one? I can't remember the name, which one it was. But anyways, yeah, if you know, let me know. I just have to look it back up. But anyways, you get another deal that happens. So you have Lloyd, which is your main antagonist of the game. But here's the kicker in the pants. He may be the main antagonist of the game, but he's not the final boss. He's not the final apocalyptic, destroy the world kind of thing. And it's actually kind of cool. You kind of enjoy Lloyd. That is your main antagonist, Lloyd. You know, he's all has the hood. You find him several times through the game like that. And he is the one that kills Lavitz. And he was actually pretty tough too. But, you know, he's the one that also set up for the kidnapping of Shauna. He is the one that unsealed the Divine Dragon and gains the Divine Dragoon spirit. Now, here's the thing though. He's doing all of this stuff for his utopia, his view of utopia. But when he finds out the whole point of the kidnapping and that it was for the destiny of destruction of the entire world, he was not for that. He was doing it for his own ideology of a utopia. So yeah, he does some stupid shit. So yeah, it's a kind of love and hate relationship with him. You fucking hate him because he killed Lavitz. He killed Lavitz! But you love him because he has such a great ideology and he sticks with it. And then he turns against it when he finds out the main plan for Shauna and why he was kidnapped. And when he's killed, he actually gives Dart the Divine Dragoon Spirit because he failed to kill the strongest enemy in the entire game, Melbu. So Melbu is the ruler of the Winglings and all of the Endiness. He is what you call ultimate evil. So, okay, here are the two main ones that you have to worry about in the game. Lloyd, which turns against evil, I guess you could say. He's not a hero, he's not a villain either. He's kind of just the antagonist, doing things for himself, selfish ambition, selfish ideologies. And then you get Melbu into the game, which you don't get to see his face until the very fucking end of the game. On the 4th disc, you know about him in ways, you hear him, everything, but you don't actually see his face until the end. And man, he has a fucking ugly ass face. But for ultimate evil, he fits the piece perfectly. Fuck, was that hard. Melbu was hard. This whole game was difficult. This was a game you had to go out and you had to make sure that you took as many battles as possible to level up. If you didn't, you pretty much were not going to beat the game. And that's what I loved about the game. Not only was the battle system good, the characters were amazing, the storyline was phenomenal and had so many tearjerkers and surprises that were thrown at you. The enemies were good. Oh, the game was also hard. And that's what just made the game so much better. And that's my opinion. I feel this game was one of the best games ever created. Ever. And when you look at the PlayStation 1 era of video gaming, so when you looked at RPGs, JRPGs, the games were so spectacularly created. Yeah, the graphics weren't anything modern days now. But the games at that time, they had some of the greatest storylines ever. And it was the biggest focus on it was the character development and the storyline. And when you looked at all those games, they always had something compelling about the story. When you look at modern games of today, you don't find a compelling story. I don't, personally. Every time when I find a new JRPG or an RPG that has these amazing, fantastic graphics and the looks of the characters are so amazing, the storyline is fucking horseshit. Like, the storylines don't have anything compelling. It doesn't have anything that draws me in and goes, holy crap. Or the character developments that makes me actually want them. Like, there's some games from Japan that are like that. Not as good, but the modern games, especially regular role-playing games, they're just so boring. I haven't really enjoyed so much as I used to in the past. With that being said, if you have played The Legend of Dragoon, let me know your thoughts about the game. Let me know what your favorite piece of character development is, who your favorite character is, what your favorite part of the storyline was, and what your overall rating would be. Surprisingly, the game was actually rated very, very, very high, yet it's also still underrated. It didn't sell as much either, But since the game, and there hasn't been a remake, there hasn't been HD remaster, there hasn't been a sequel to the game, there has been a cult that's been created since that it's demanding and asking for a new game. Personally, I think that this game is definitely something that would be awesome to revive, recreate, keep everything as it is, but, build it into the modern graphics. And I mean, to keep everything exactly the same, except for the graphics. Build the world, or if you don't want to ruin the game, which I personally say, please don't ruin the game, create a sequel. Create it more of an open world environment of new age games and, build off of the last game. Or do a prologue. I think the prologue would be actually pretty cool. You get to see everything from the Dragon campaign and whatnot. And, the Black Monster and what it did back then, actually live through it. I think that would be cool. But that's just my opinion. And that's what I think. And thank you for joining me for this episode. And definitely go out if you have not played The Legend of Dragoon and play it.